from near-death experience to multi-million-pound portfolio. So we're going to be talking this evening, wherever it is you're watching this, by the way. We are super excited. Give it a share. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment along. If you listen to this elsewhere on our podcast at a later date or something like that, then do give it a share, because a lot of people are asking questions of themselves these days of like, can they be like spiritual, and can you enjoy life and take it easy and be easygoing and go with the flow and still make lots of money and enjoy the physical material world? Yeah, that is the question. Yes, thank you, Tina. So do start tagging some people, because we want to hear also from people watching this. So do comment in. If you're watching it on a platform that doesn't allow you to do that, do reach out on some of the social media platforms here, real life, so you can ask your questions and we can answer your questions when it comes to what happens when someone experiences like a near-death experience or some kind of big, jolt or shock to the system, and their life flashes before them. That is probably a very simple way of putting it. So what we're also going to be doing on here, if you are watching this live, well done. You're going to be in with a chance to win some real life merchandise, and get some wonderful prizes given. To qualify to be in for a chance to win that, all you need to do is share this on your timeline and let us know when you've done that. And then what you need to do is tag at least 10 other people. Now, if you're in the real life tribe, you have to tag 10 people in the tribe and 10 people out of the tribe. And then by the end of this show, we will be selecting a winner. So look, let's get into it. Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron Timms, for joining us on the Real Life Money Monday panel.
You are very welcome, my friend. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So this is your second time on Money Monday, but last time was a group experience. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you one-on-one and delving into some of your experiences and what you have seen happen to yourself and others along the way in this journey. Now, this is actually probably one of the last times. It may not be the last time that it will be Money Monday. We are rebranding the Real Life On Demand, maybe, or Real Life TV, something to that effect, because we're branching out. More people are coming on, more demand to come onto the panel and provide awesome content. So that's exactly what we're going to do this evening. So guys, if there's any questions or interaction that you want to give here, make sure you do share this, give us some emojis, and let us know where you are in the world or where you are in the country. If you're in the UK, that would be awesome. So Aaron, let's just go straight into it, which is near-death experience. So what was that?
That is a good question. I mean, what I'll do is I'll start by sharing. I mean, some of you know the story, some of you don't. In 2008, I was in a car crash with my best friend at the time and my girlfriend. It was his 24th birthday. And when we left the restaurant, I was waiting for Ollie. Ollie's my friend's name. It was his birthday. I was waiting for him to get in the car. Now, just to set the context a little bit so everyone understands, I already had a broken leg. So my leg was in plaster cast. So I'd spent the previous 6 weeks sitting in the passenger seat, being chauffeured around. And this is a little 3-door Audi A3. So as we're waiting for Ollie to come out of the restaurant, and it was freezing cold and, the wind blowing, very typical September British evening. And I was freezing. So there was something inside of me that just said, like, get in. And it wasn't a voice. It wasn't like I heard a voice. It was more just like this energetic pull is the best way I can describe it. So I just got in. I opened the car. I pushed the seat forward. I actually jammed the seat forward with my crutch so I could climb in. And I kind of like pulled my leg into the back. And I remember thinking at the time, like, why am I doing this? Anyway, I got in, put my belt on. Ollie came out and off we went. And that was when the crash happened. We were traveling around about 70 to 80 mile an hour. So I guess probably 90 kilometers, something like that. And we went to overtake a car that was acting really odd. So as we went to overtake, and it was doing like 30 miles an hour at the time, it sped up. So we kind of sped up a little bit, and then it sped up, we sped up, and all of a sudden we sped up more, came back into our side of the road, and that's when we lost control. And this is the fascinating part. As we came back in, all I remember is time slowing down. It was like I could see through the windscreen, I could see trees, road, and then we, like, real super slow, everything expanded, and then we hit the curb, flipped upside down, and that's when we hit the lamppost and landed on the roof. And I've never, I mean, I was 21 years old at the time, and I'd never been near death, close to death, but there was something that was cold. There was like this dead, still, cold energy in the air, and I was screaming and howling. I felt like someone had got a big kitchen knife and just driven it into the base of my spine and was twisting it. I was in agony. And the next thing I know, blue lights appearing. I mean, it felt like 4 days, but I now know it was about 45 minutes. Blue lights flashing, sparks flying everywhere, people, like, faces appearing, and it was the fire brigade starting to cut me out. So then I was transferred to Colchester A&E, where I spent around about 6 hours there. And that in itself was a strange experience. So I don't remember the journey from the crash to the A&E. What I do remember is seeing myself being wheeled in, observing the emergency, seeing the paramedics and the doctors running around. And it was like I was third person. It was like I was viewing myself, but I was super calm. And it was a really, it's an odd experience. It's difficult to explain, but just imagine it's like viewing third person. And then I spent till about 5 o'clock the next morning in intensive care. And then I was airlifted over to Romford, where I spent 3 weeks in intensive care. And that's when I had a operation to realign my spine. Because what I found out was I had dislocated my spine and damaged my spinal cord. So I'd broken T12 and L1, and I'd also dislocated the spine. So my spinal cord was trapped between my spine like this. So I had an operation to realign my spine. Then my dad made sure that he was the only person at the hospital after the operation. And they called him in, Mr. Timms, do you want to come and speak to us? And they said, the good news is we've managed to realign his spine without any further damage. The bad news is that there was more damage than we originally suspected, and he's never going to walk again. Now, my dad, I mean, any of you listening who are parents, I mean, you can probably imagine what that must have felt like for him, the weight he would have been carrying on his shoulders. But he went home and spoke to my stepmom, and she's always been very spiritual. She's always been into natural healing. She's always been into energetic healing modalities and things like that. And growing up with her, to be totally honest, I thought she was just absolutely nuts. I thought she was just balmy. I didn't really take any notice of it. But she had a conversation with my dad and said, basically, look, if Aaron knows the truth, or he buys into that, if he knows the prognosis, if you like, maybe the truth is the wrong word, but if he knows the prognosis, he gives up hope, he has nothing. So my dad made a decision to not tell me. And he also made the decision not to tell anybody else in the family, because he wanted to protect me from the truth. So he came back to the hospital and he said to the doctors and the surgeons, he said, look, Aaron is not to know the prognosis. There's too much going on for him. Ollie and Donna both died at the scene. So as you can imagine, that in itself was hell. So they said to my dad, he's 21. It's legal protocol. We have to tell him. So my dad stood in the doorway of the intensive care room And he said, "You are not coming in. You are not taking hope and belief away from my son." And he just didn't move. And I truly believe it's that moment that probably is the reason I'm walking again, because truly, although I couldn't feel my legs, I was in agony, I knew I was paralyzed. What I didn't know is the prognosis. And I truly believed that I was going to walk again. I truly believed everything was going to be okay. My dad told me, "Hey, you're going to walk, you're going to be fine." My stepmom said to me, and this was still in intensive care. My stepmom said to me, "You're going to walk, you'll be fine. You're going to marry a blonde lady. You're going to have a daughter. You're going to write a book about this. You're going to share your story from the stage." And again, I thought she was nuts. I thought she was totally bonkers, because public speaking was my worst fear at that point. So yeah, that's my experience. And I guess the message and the reason I really wanted to share that experience with my dad is because, there's a powerful message in there for anybody who's listening. And this is relative to life. This is relative to business. This is relative to health. This is relative to anything that you want to achieve or be. And that's, you are capable of so much more than you have been led to believe. And I mean, Mark, I'm sure you've got something interesting to say on this, but I mean, and how many of you agree on this? I'd love to hear, comment and let me know. But society, some with pure and good intentions, don't get me wrong, but society leads us to believe in the limitations because it's beyond something we can see, when actually there is something bigger than us within inside of us that is capable of so much more. How many of you agree with that?
Yeah, good. This is the part of the part of life that takes some getting used to, especially if you are brought up around what might be considered normal society and normal way of thinking, where spiritual abilities or psychic abilities, telepathic abilities are just not normal. They're considered very strange or crazy. But if we go back to what you said, which is like the slow motion, I'd like to know, reach out on whichever platform you're watching it on here and just say, have you ever had that experience where time slowed down and things go into slow motion? What about the reverse? Has time ever gone really fast for you? They say time flies when you're having fun, but why is the time seem like it's quicker, and why does it seem like it's slower? Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some kind of attempt to scientifically explain it through the attention span of the mind and all of this stuff. But truth be told, we all know that we've achieved things in short spaces of time, and we all know that things that happen, they take longer, or the feeling of bored, as if time is passing really slow. Yeah, but what's the cause for these things to happen? Is it only when someone is put under the almost option that death could be something that could happen, or what we perceive as, oh wow, I might not survive this, whatever survive is, whether that's the body existing, whether that's the eternal spirit existing. And then that comes down to what people believe. What I like, what Joe Dispenza says, is he says things like, when people do these energy work and these healing chambers, and they come into contact with light beings and energy beings, is that he says that to recall it in the mind, that you have to build the neuro network and the neural pathways for you to be able to make any sense of it logically. Yeah, because if not, then you don't have any kind of pathways to recall on it, or to store it as a memory, or to store it as even existing. Yeah, so you got to have, so Aaron, you with your dad, not allowing them. And I heard many stories of the same, like they don't let people know, oh, you got 6 months to live, you know, and they didn't allow them to tell them. And then they lived for 11 years more. Yeah. They wasn't told. So like all of these things that happen, they start because, oh, I can walk. Like seeing myself walk again now becomes a neural pathway. It now becomes like like if you say the memory is the past, then the vision can be the future. Yeah, so
Absolutely,
it becomes like an envision, like, or a visualization. So I would like to see if anyone's got any questions, anyone else has had any similar experiences, and wherever you are, you know, just share this post if you think that this insight could, you know, help someone in any way. You know, tag a few people into here. There's also going to be some prizes. So for the prizes for the real life merchandise at the end of this program, or the end of this show, do share it on your timeline. Let us know when you've done it, and get tagging at least 10 people. Yeah, and then we're going to be picking a winner at the end.
So connected to what you were just saying, Mark, a couple of really powerful things that I want to share is, you know, one of the things that I struggled with when I left hospital, and it is the fact that if I had have known, right, we don't know this for sure, but I believe that if I had have known the prognosis, they'd have said to me, you're not going to walk again. Because they got the white coat, they got the certificate on the wall, you know, I buy into this idea that the expert is right. So that then becomes my reality. Now, I truly believe that would probably have happened. But the point is here is, okay, yes, the doctors, the consultants, they can't say to me, you're going to walk again. But equally, they can't say you're not going to walk again, because they don't know that. And that's the thing that I struggled with. And then I started to think about the idea, well, how many other people have been told, oh, you're not going to walk again, or you've got 4 months to live, or this is incurable. You know, I've worked with clients when I was running the Mastermind Heal Your Body work that have been told they've got incurable illnesses and they've healed themselves. How many times have people been told that? And like you said, they buy into the idea. The idea becomes a thought process. That thought process gets neurologically wired into the brain, and then the chemical output matches that, and it becomes the physical reality printed into the body based on an idea.
Yeah. Isn't that how everything is made?
Absolutely. In this physical reality, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So why do people find it so difficult to, you know, just create what they want, what they really want?
It's a good question, and I can only speak from my experience, of course, but you know what I would say to that is there's two fundamental things. We buy into this idea that we have to see it to believe it. If it's not something we can see and it's not tangible, then it's not real. I mean, even before we go to woo-woo on this, I mean, that's crazy.
Why do people buy into that? Where does that come from?
Probably, I mean, I guess there's one element, which is the mind is a processing machine. So as a human being, the conscious part of our mind, this like neocortex, and this the subconscious part of the back, it has a processing. It's like a machine, isn't it? It's like a computer. It has to process, so it has to have information.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, monkey see, monkey do. It's literally that.
So who's to blame? Is there anyone to blame?
Wow.
Is there anyone? Is it the parents?
Well, that's a good question, because
I mean, I'm a parent.
You don't know what you don't know.
I'm a parent of 4 kids, and I know I've acted in a certain way, especially my first child I had when I was about 21 or 22, and I know I wasn't acting in the best way. So they've seen and experienced that, and felt the energy of my behavior. Yeah, not doing the right thing for the right reason. So
the question there is, though, is you don't, or the statement is, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Is that true, though?
It depends what level you look at it, I guess. I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah, because what about kids when they come forth with something totally wacko to normal society? I mean, we'd have to define normal society, but like the mainstream of people who say, go to school, get educated, work hard, get a job, have a couple of kids, get married, buy a house, work your way up the mortgage ladder, the housing ladder, whatever, and go on some holidays and then retire and pass on the wealth to the children for some reason, whatever that's what we've been told, isn't it? Yeah. So let's say that's normal society. Then what about when the kids come out with something like an idea, or they heard something, or they got this imaginary friend, or and then they're told, oh, that's silly, it doesn't work like that. Like, is that where it's coming from?
Has to be a part of it.
Yeah, what's this? So look, what John is saying is when we are children, we believe anything without seeing it. At what point or age do we stop believing without seeing? Maybe when we're told, maybe when we learn that.
Think about the stages of development, though.
But what age do you learn to tie your shoes? Some kids are tying their shoes at 4 years old. Some are not doing it when they're 14.
Yeah, but this is the point, though. Think about the stages of development for a human being and the body. Between 0 and 3, there's a development in the brain, and then where their ability to consciously think isn't fully developed yet. And that's the awesome thing, because they don't have the ability to think properly. So they're fully in presence. It's like they're fully in that intuitive state of being. They're not coming from an experience, because they don't have an experience to come from in this human body. And that's the beautiful thing. There's no blockage. So you're right. Like, where does that come from? Where does that idea, where does that, that moment of like innate genius from a child come from? And then all of a sudden, what do?
So it depends. So it depends how deep we want to go here, right? This channel mostly is for kind of or the 5 freedoms: financial, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And most people, I would say the largest part of the market is like around property investing and wanting that financial freedom and wanting to increase their wealth and maybe their health and their mindset. Then if you're crossing the border onto the other side, into the more emotional and spiritual aspects of things, and you want to know more about that, I would ask you to put hashtag DYTP, which stands for Discover Your True Potential. Put that in the comments, because if so, we're going to share a link, which is a group. So it's a group on Facebook that is dedicated to like helping people discover their true potential in the finance, the physical realm, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And the reason I'm saying that is, depends how deep you want to go with this, Aaron, and people watching, because we could go as far as like we select the family or the parents we're going to be born into before we come here. Yeah. And the reason to do that is because we got a lesson to learn or a job to do. It could be either or it could be the same thing. And it's that life that's going to teach us that. So when we're coming in, if I've got some really like, who was it who made the prediction? Was it your stepmom, you said?
Stepmom, yeah.
Yeah, so you see, look, so that wasn't even born into that family, but that family evolved and merged that way. And you to receive that piece of information, which looking back on it now, you see how instrumental it was. So when we come in and we have, because I blame my parents for a long time. I really did. I was like, oh my God, you don't teach me nothing about business, nothing about money. In fact, every time I said I wanted to go for something, you was like, oh no, that would be no good. Just do an honest day's work, get an honest day's pay. And I blame them. But they were all the lessons I needed to know to be on the journey that I'm supposed to be on and what I'm doing today. So in these masterminds, what we do is we do go and delve into this. So it's the level 1 DYTP mastermind, which is open to anyone, by the way. Is open to anyone. So do share this post if you think anyone else is into this type of thing. And when you get invited to the group, if you want to put hashtag DYTP, we will invite to that group. You invite other people. If you're already in that group, because I can see some of you on here already are, then also share that group and invite some people into there. Yeah, we can do on DYT Mastermind. Yeah, absolutely. So what does this say? What spiritually are you talking about, please? What do you mean? If you could just expand your question a little bit there, unless I'm misunderstanding what this person is saying.
Let's wait for that question to come back in. But when people say to me, what is spirituality? One of the answers that I really love to share with people in its simplest form, because it's deep. We can go into lots of different areas and we can go lots of different layers and dimensions and all of this stuff. But on a human level, is spirituality not about growth, about contribution, about levels of awareness and about unity in its simplest form? Spiritual fulfillment comes from personal growth and the contribution to others. And that's it, right?
So Robert Kiyosaki said, and he actually, credit to this guy, he actually helped me feel more normal about realizing that I've got access to spiritual abilities that will help me in this physical world, in business, in life, in making money, in creating what we perceive as success. Yeah. And because he said, all of my wealth comes from spirituality. That's what Robert Kiyosaki said. Yeah. So what is it that either allows or denies someone to discover their spiritual potential to then use it for the greater good in the physical world, what we know as the physical world, which is like getting all the physical material luxuries, the house, the cars, the satisfaction, just the fulfillment, the family, the time, the space, the energy. What is it that either allows that or denies that? I would like to hear from people who are watching this in the comments. Yeah, and I'd like to hear from you, Aaron.
Nice. That's an awesome question, and I'll share my experience. And for me, I've always been driven, and actually from a very young age, I always felt like that I had a special purpose, and I always thought it was to be an entrepreneur. My very first business was 5 years old. I went to a little fete in the village and I bought the game, The Hungry Hippos. I don't know if anyone knows it, but you hit the hippos and they eat the balls. So I bought the game. I borrowed 50p off my nan, went and bought the game, and I went down to the local park and I sold goes for like 20p a go. And I made £3 that day. So I paid my nan back the 50p, £2.50 profit. I was like, yes. And that was my kind of first business venture, if you like. And I always thought that I had a special purpose on this planet, and it was to do with like being successful. And of course, that pattern played out over and over. And then obviously, when I had the crash in 2008, it totally changed my view on life. Of course, part of me bought into this idea that I was going to write a book. I was going to use the story to change lives. Part of me wasn't sure, was scared, was nervous, all of those things. I still had a real drive for personal success. So, as you know, Mark, when you invited me to MMI, the personal development event, I bought a program that was about, success, if you like. It was about getting rich. It was about, personal and business success. And they asked me to share on stage, why did you buy the program? And what I said really surprised me. I didn't even know I was going to say this. And what I realized in that moment was that if I didn't share my story to inspire people, to give people hope, to show people that I'm just an ordinary person, because I am, but I did something extraordinary. If I didn't use that, then it was selfish of me. And that was the moment I realized that, the big thing, because I really believe spiritually, especially after learning to walk again. And something I didn't share earlier was the night of the crash, I saw Ollie, and when I was in A&E, when I was in the intensive care room, after they had done, all the initial scans and MRIs and CTs and all of that, it was just me and my dad. And, I kind of I was pinned down. I had the orange brace on, and they they pinned my side down so I couldn't move because obviously my severe injuries. But I sort of kind of was like trying to grab my, I was like, Dad, what's the doctor say? And he's like, nothing, no one's there, mate. Just calm down. Dad, don't lie to me. What's the doctor saying? No, calm down, mate. No one's there. And then all of a sudden it was like total tranquility, total peace. And, you know, I just received this message of everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So I experienced spirituality in that context, if you like. So I always believed, but the one thing holding me back was my own fears of being judged, my own fears of looking silly, my own fears of people thinking like, what is this guy on about? And for me, that was the biggest thing that held me back. And then to buy into the concept of spirituality, because my view of spirituality was very far from the truth of what it really is, because growing up, I saw a lot of spiritual people around in the family, but none of them had any money. None of them looked happy. None of them looked particularly healthy. So my idea of spirituality was this idea of basically some crazy people that believed in ghosts.
Like what might be perceived as like hippie.
Yeah, literally. Like, you know, people that go down to Glastonbury and do this, oh, dude, yeah, man, stuff, you know? And, you know, that stuff's great, but that was my little window in. That was all I could see of it. You know, what I didn't realize is I was just peeking through the window and there's this whole world of different people. And now what I'm actually realizing is now I meet a lot of successful people because I'm in business in different areas, industries, etc. Most of the successful people, and by successful I mean rich, I mean happy, I mean healthy, I mean have really deep meaningful relationships, intimate and friendships and business relationships. That's what I mean by successful. Every single one of those people that I have personally met are really, really spiritual. And they know how to apply universal laws, and they know how to, they understand how to apply spiritual laws and understandings in the physical world. So I suppose the long answer, but to go back to your question, is it's our perception of who we believe we are. You know, we live life to who we believe we are based on who we've become as a personality and identity through our experience of life. And that's that's like a limitation we place on ourselves unknowingly. And I truly believe like that's probably maybe the biggest, or certainly one of the biggest things that holds us back, applying these principles in life, applying them in business, applying them in our relationships and all areas of life.
Very good. So I think we're getting there with, how do you pronounce that name? Ferris Monsieur. I'm not the best with names. Yeah, I don't know how you can help me pronounce that either. Yeah, but you're saying you're not sure, you know, whether certain experiences are spiritual or not. Yeah, so you got to ask yourself which part of you is asking that question. Yeah, is it your body? I don't think so. Is it your mind? Probably. Yeah. You know, is it your emotions? Maybe not. You know, is it the spiritual being? Yeah, because like what part of you is asking or is questioning whether it's right or not, or whether it's right. That's not what you said. You said whether it is a spiritual experience. Yeah, you know the beauty what I've experienced over you know the last few years is that words are not always required, and actually words are never exact. They only ever put us in the vicinity of something, of a subject or an area. So we can come out with whatever words we want, but I think really when you know, you know. When you feel something and you feel the truth of it, then you just, when you know, you know. Now, in this physical world, we perceive something called time, which is an illusion because we just made it up. Yeah, but let's say there's time. So the more time that happens, the more the mind might come into play and start to dilute what the original message was, or what the original feeling was, or what the original sense was. So the more that time goes on, now the mind is trying to play that Tetris game, and it's like, oh, got to fit that block in there, got to fit that. Well, that has to make sense. Well, Well, I seen that happen, 5 years ago. So surely that has to happen. And I saw someone die this way, and I saw someone make money when they were mean and horrible. That's how they made money. And now you're trying to fit it into all of this mental framework that was created based on past experiences. Well, I'm not sure how that's going to help people live in the present, in the moment, because most people are then operating from past frameworks or some future framework that doesn't even exist as of now or as of yet, and some future fears that usually never happen. But if you put enough focus and attention on it, you'll make it happen. I mean, isn't that what people's attention is driven around today, or the last few years, or probably forever? But it's becoming so apparent now that, hey, people are guiding and putting your attention on certain subjects, certain information, and certain preferences that they will allow to be on the media, and the media on TV, on radio, on adverts, on billboards. So now it becomes people's forefront of their attention. They're even talking about it. They're arguing about it. Families are, quarreling over it. Are you this or are you that? Are you pro this or anti that? And it's all becoming now a kind of diverter of attention. Yeah, where the truth is, like, if we all just took I think what they used to call it in the hippie days is take a chill pill and just focused on the positivity and the awesomeness. Oh, look how awesome this is. I've just been bought a lovely cup of tea in my favorite teapot. Thank you very much. Yeah, then what things can transpire from there. I mean, aren't the best times that people had in their life where it was just like spontaneous, in the moment, not really planned? Because sometimes when people plan a night out, there's an expectation, and the expectation kills the actual experience. And I don't know, you're expecting something different to happen. It actually happened to me today in a team meeting. We were discussing, the plan of what's going to happen. And I was looking at the plan and I was thinking, I just want that person to be able to take care of it. But like, it wasn't matching my vision if I was going to do it. And I thought, you know what? That's how I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it. So let them do it how they want to do it. And I dropped my expectation of how the plan was supposed to look to me. And I was like, as long as the outcome happens, as long as we get the result, I don't really care how it's done. Why should I? Because it's only the result that we're looking for. It's not the way it's being done.
Yeah. Do you know, just if I can, Mark, I just want to touch on something massively important that you've just said there. And this is a lesson I've learned over and over, and is that we do exactly that. If we want to create something in our life, we plan how we're going to do it. So we say, right, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to achieve this, then I'm going to achieve this, and then I get my outcome, right? So what we do is we create through planning. And don't get me wrong, having a plan is great. Having goals is great. It's a must. I do it all the time. But what we've got to be really, really aware of there is that we are placing an expectation on exactly how we think it's going to happen. We're building this preconceived mental construct of how we think something is going to happen, which is wonderful because it sets the intention. It starts to create in physical reality. Great. The problem, if you're not aware of it, though, is it can literally blindside to all of the opportunities that come along. It might be in the form of a person. It might be in the form of a business deal. It might even be an email. Who knows? It can be anything. But there are so many opportunities that come into our life, and we are so fixated on how we think it's going to come into reality, we miss those opportunities. And something I've learned being a superconscious creator is finding that sweet spot of living in the now, creating what we want, but also knowing that it probably, in fact, it very, 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 very likely, it won't show up in the way we expect it. Really important. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, these subjects, these areas, is comments on here that are saying, like, I want to learn about this. How do I get the training? How do I get the coaching? All of that stuff. Really the best form is self-discovery. Yeah, and being put in the environments or the context, the situations where we can self-discover more about ourselves, more about what's possible, more about our abilities and our strengths and our capabilities. Then and share that and be around people who want to make it real. Yeah, because one of the things I've realized is from growing up on a council estate to like what was real there is totally really not what's actually real. Yeah, and what's real to me now is the ability to have control over our own time and space and create at will and uncreate as well, and not getting sucked into all the chaos and all the drama that life can sometimes, as we perceive it, throw our way. But really, it's just a test to say, can I still remain on the positive? Can I connect to my higher self and the source and the knowledge and the wisdom? And can I, find my tribe? Is ultimately what it is. Can I find my tribe that makes my way of thinking, even though it's not my way of thinking, it's the collective way of thinking, but can it make it real? Can I share something like, oh, I had this experience, everything went into slow motion, and someone make that real for me, versus say, what you're talking about, you're dreaming, you have too many drugs, did you, that day? Like, and turn it around that way. Yeah, I got different types of people that I associate with. Business people, there's people in the hotel industry, there's people in the property industry, there's people from spiritual communities and retreats that I've been to and I'm a part of, and they all have different views. And I feel very fortunate now to almost be a little bit like, I don't need to enforce. I used to be very controlling, like, you must think this way, this is the only way to think. Yeah, well, now it's like everybody can be on their journey and it'd be at different stages. They'll find the right place. They'll find the right people. Like, just let me know. I don't do market research here. Just let me know in the comments, like, who would actually really like to be on a list to be the first to know about when the DYTP level 1 mastermind goes live. Which we want to do, which actually, if more people want to be on the list, we'll bring it forward. So let me know in the comments if you want to be on that list. Just put #list or write any questions or anything that you would like to do, because we might put something together so you guys can start registering at least your interest. So then when we have a date, when we're going to actually start making it happen once a month, that it is out there and people can start congregating. So it will be a private session. It'll be a private mastermind session where we're doing studies, we're doing teachings, we're doing learnings, we'll be doing processes. There'll be all kinds of different meditations. There'll be things of, that you can literally use in your life and start being able to program yourself for the better. Yeah, or like wire your brain to overcome these limitations and like pull out the weeds and plant in the new positive vibes. There'll be takeaways all of the time. So do let me know. Let's see if there's many people, because it might excite us to want to pull it forward. It's definitely on the agenda. It's definitely happening. Could be a few months down the line, but it could be, in the next month if people want to do this and get this started and get this happening. Yeah. So let's just bring it back, Aaron, before we start wrapping this up, because what's cool about being on this call with you and you talking about your near-death experience. When I was 11 years old, I was told that, I needed to have this heart operation. And, the first thing I thought is, am I going to die? And that slow motion thing happened. We won't go into that now because this is more about, you. But like this last week, I literally just had the replacement. 23 years later, I just had a replacement heart valve. And, with all my, let's say, studying, training, the coaching, all the experiences that I've been through that have got me in touch more with etheric type of kind of energies, I was much better able to prepare myself to be in a nice purified space and have a wonderful procedure and be recovering very quickly. I mean, it's less than a week ago, and I'm already, feel like I could be ready to go full blast again. But I think physically I just need to maybe ease in on the workouts and the physical kind of stuff. But with all that said, have you, since you've had this experience, how long ago was it, Aaron, now?
2008, so 14 years.
Yeah. So since then, like, have you been able to replicate these abilities, this slow motion, or is it different forms that you've been able to,
Yeah, that's a great question. I went on after 2018. Funny enough, it was literally the 10th anniversary to that night when I went to MMI. And as you know, I had this experience where I decided in that moment, like, I had to use this experience to make a difference. So I went on this like desire, this like search for the truth. You know, what really happened? Did I really heal myself? Is the mind really capable of these amazing things? And that led me to working with people. You know, I literally just started saying to people, would you work with me? I don't know what I'm doing. What I do know is what I did, and we can try and replicate it. We can try and, you know, work out, is there really that ability? So I started to work with a few people locally. I worked with a lady with MS, and we just literally started to do like visualizations. And we would imagine energy coming into the body. We would imagine energy, like she made her own visualization about being a tree and having these like gold particles of energy coming through her body, and she would feel it coming through her wrists. And some of her symptoms, she had MS, and she was told that her son at the time was nearly 18 months old. And she was told by the time he goes to school that she would be in a wheelchair. And she had weak hands. She had numbness in her leg. She had some bladder problems. She had like blurred vision and vagueness happen. And just through doing these different visualizations, and I would like guide her through some of the visualizations I did when I was in hospital, and we were literally just exploring and playing. And in moments, she would get the strength back in her hands. I mean, within minutes, within 3 or 4 minutes, she would get the feeling back in her legs. Her vision would become clear. But then when we came out of the visualizations, when we came out of the experience, the physical symptoms came back. And it drove me bonkers. I was like, why is that? Like, because we clearly know there's something there, because the body changed in that short amount of time. Why is it going back? Why is it returning to its what should we say? Out of harmony form is the best way. Its state of dis-ease. Why does it keep returning back to that? So we started to explore her life. You know, okay, if you feel whole, if you feel in love, if you have this beautiful experience within the visualization, can we replicate that in life? How are you feeling when you're with your husband? How are you feeling when you're with your parents? How are you feeling on a day-to-day basis? And what was fascinating about this is it was very obvious very quickly that she was feeling under a state of stress. She was feeling under a state of anger and resentment towards some of her family members that had treated her in a way that, you know, is not really acceptable. So she was holding a lot of this. And when we started to work through this, combined with the visualizations and those experiences, the physical symptoms, we could get them to disappear, and then we could get them to stay away for longer. So we know that it's possible, and it's our state of being. It's our emotional state of being. It's where we place our attention. It's how we're feeling. You know, one of the best lines I ever heard was from Bruce Lipton, and he said, our beliefs and perceptions are translated by the brain into unique chemical profiles that are transmitted into the body. So what we think about, what we perceive, becomes an emotional experience, which becomes a chemical experience in the body. And that was fascinating. So in answer to your question, yes, we've been able to replicate, and that's just one story of many. We've been able to replicate this. And on this quest, on this desire to know like what's going on, I started to study Joe Dispenza. Mark, I know you're really familiar with him. If anyone's not, check him out. He's incredible. I would say he's the world's best in mind-body connection. He broke his back and went on this journey to study the science of what happened. And I went to his week-long retreat, and we did some really, really deep meditations. And we got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. We had to be in the room. We meditated, and he trained us how to open certain systems in our body, pineal gland in the brain, to release chemicals. And he trained us how to get into this like transcendental state. And we went, there was 1,000 of us. So we got up and we were walking on Brighton Beach, which is freezing. And the grains of sand are about that big. It's not a particularly comfortable place to be. And we were doing this like walking meditation. And all of a sudden, I was in this like transcendental state. And I felt myself expanding. And my body started to kind of go loose, and I started to wobble. and my knees started to give away. And then my mind kicked in. Oh, Aaron, you're just playing this. You're just trying to, you're just trying to create this experience. And the moment I started thinking, I stood back up and I was fine. And then I focused on the horizon like he taught us to do. And we had things in our ears. And I went back into this experience. And all of a sudden, my body dropped. And the next thing I know, one of the ladies from the event, one of the facilitators, or one of the crew, she had me in her lap, basically. My head was on her lap, and she was just gently stroking my forehead and bringing me back round. And I was so big, I was still not in my body. And she tried to speak to me, and I just had to like kind of do that as if to say, I can't speak. And she knew. She was like, it's okay. And she walked, she got me up and she took me to breakfast. And I didn't say anything for about 4 hours because I just couldn't comprehend. I couldn't speak. And I saw this vision, and it was clear as day. It was me in a white shirt, similar to the one I'm wearing now, actually, on a stage, big screen, speaking. And I was like, I've seen the future. I know that is the truth, but I can't comprehend that could be the future. So then 2 days later, what I didn't realize is they'd been recording all of us as participants in the event, and they created this video and they played it at the end. And there was this big, 40-foot screen, and they'd captured me in a white shirt, smiling, and we were in like a group, and I had my eyes closed and I was holding hands with some people, and we were doing this kind of like meditation, and they call it like a cage healing. So we were doing this healing, and I was just like, and this video came up on the screen of me, and I fell off my chair. I was like, that's what I saw. So I don't know, read into it what you will, but I know I saw the future. So I know it's possible. So yeah, I've replicated it. We're working on making it predictable. We're working on a process to make that predictable, so we can use our superconscious to actually create what we want, which is really cool. So that's something else to look forward to for the mastermind as well, because I'm going to bring some of that in.
Nice. That is super awesome. We are going to get this wrapped up, this episode. If you have found it useful, do make sure that you share it out there, and you tag at least 10 people. So we will be getting in touch with the winners. Yeah, for the people that have qualified, you'll be selected, and we'll give that a shout out on there. So make sure you're sharing it. There's still time to tag on here. There's still time to share it. So make sure you go ahead and do that. And yeah, so anybody who wants us to bring this mastermind forward, which is the building of this DYTP community, to have these experiences and to experience this and connect more to all that there is and all that there ever has been and will be. Yeah, it's a super awesome thing. I used to want to explain it all. Now it's better when people discover it for themselves. So I understand that. So that is what we will help you guys facilitate to do. Yeah, so reach out, get in touch. If there's any questions, you can reach out on the Mark Harvey page. You can reach out on the real life medias, wherever they are, whatever platform you're watching this on. I know there's so many different platforms that we put this across. So there's one very important question, Aaron, that we have to ask before we end this off, because I know the Real Life Tribe, they have their property mastermind, which is happening in a few minutes. So the question is, Aaron, we must never, ever, ever let people forget that they got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Because it's when you're in a place of truth, when you're in a place of integrity, when you make right decisions and you get right answers in life, the universe just paves its way, and whatever you need will show up. Sometimes it's like jumping off a cliff, and you've got to hope that someone puts the net at the bottom. But trust me, you do the right things for the right reasons. Every time you jump off that cliff, the net will appear. But you've got to do the right thing for the right reason.
I love it. Excellent. We have a saying in our community that you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way you will discover your true potential. Can you say that when I ask you the question?
because that is the only way you'll discover your true potential.
Yeah, but I've got to ask you the question first.
All right.
Yeah, so we're building something. We're building something. We're building something. So, Aaron, we must never let people forget that they've got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Because that is the only way you discover your true potential.
Absolutely true. Awesome. Thank you for watching, everybody. Share the love. We'll see you again.